I was pretty infuriated when I asked the school, what's the difference between going to this school and learning online from YouTube tutorials or like Skillshare? And they didn't really have a great answer. What's up guys, Jordan Needham from Jham Entertainment, and welcome to a new style, a new topic on this channel. I know most of what I've done in the last 6, 7, 8 months has been about music, and probably, well, like 90% of everything on this channel is about music. But those of you that were here for the beginnings of my channel, I started out with different content. It wasn't really music in the first place. So I miss that, you know, I miss doing other things. I'm a lot more than just music, and I have a bunch of other different passions. So this is kind of the start of doing other things outside of the music niche. So whether these videos do great at first or not is not really relevant to me. I want to express my passions for other things on this channel, and so this is the start of it. So today we're going to be answering the question, is going to art school a waste of time? A waste of money? Is it worth it? And I have a pretty interesting experience with this whole thing because I did enroll in an art school. So first off, I enrolled in a film school in Los Angeles. This was in like February of 2020, and I was set to show up on campus late June 2020. As you know, a lot of things started happening in about March and the end of February 2020 actually. So I'm enrolled in this film school for cinematography. I'm looking forward to it. And then March comes around and they start shutting things down because COVID is hitting. Then I'm like second guessing this whole thing because I'm like, what's gonna happen? Like, am I even gonna be able to go to the campus? Is it gonna be online? Like, what's the deal? And then about a month goes by and they say, hey, it's all gonna be online, but we still want you to come down here. And I'm like, what? That's stupid. For me, it seems like cinematography has to be in person, you know? Especially if I'm paying to learn cinematography. I want to get to meet people that know what they're doing. I want to be taught. I want hands-on experience, you know? So the whole online thing was like, yeah, that's questionable. And then we get further into it. About a year ago today, it's actually about 10 days off or so, I ended up breaking my leg. I snapped my tibia. I'll definitely have to talk about that story one day on this channel, but for now, we're just gonna breeze over it. It's the first time I've ever broken a bone, and now I'm like incapable of walking, obviously, so I have all this extra time in my hands, so I'm just gonna research other film schools. So I started researching a bunch of different film schools. I was researching one of them at. I start reading a bunch of reviews that are like, don't go, like they, you know, drained my bank account. They just absolutely drained it. I can't find a job after this. They moved too fast. I didn't really learn much. It wasn't worth it. And you know, you're always gonna hear things like this. No matter if it's a 5-star university or a 1-star, like you're gonna hear mixed results. So I was taking it as a grain of salt. I was like, okay. Well, then I looked into it and they were doing everything online, and I was like, well, let's compare the online program of this school to other art schools. Maybe I should switch my degree from cinematography to something in animation because I'm a big guy in CGI right now. And CGI is a huge passion of mine, so I said, hell with it. I'm just gonna do that anyways. Like, I don't know why I chose cinematography in the first place. I care more about CGI anyways. Then I found a school. I researched the best schools to go to for VFX and animation. And I rolled across this school. It was like 12 bucks. It was like the 12th best in the world. I withdrawed from that other school. I set myself up into this art school. Now I'm in this new art school, totally online, and it's in San Francisco instead of LA. They said that if you want to, you can come down to the campus when we open up. I'm like, okay, but I'm just gonna stick to online. I get all signed up and I'm heading into classes, I think starting, I don't know the actual date, but it's like a month after I moved out of my parents' house and into this apartment. Anyways, I start classes. I'm very open-minded about it. You know, we're gonna start learning about how to draw, how to, you know, I don't know. All these skills that aren't necessarily directly related to animation and CGI, but you definitely will learn. And hey, I don't mind learning how to draw. Okay, bad example. Drawing is a huge part of animation, but my point is they give you all these classes that are really just to fill credits, and they don't have anything to do with what your dream is. But here's where it all took a turn. For some reason, every time you talk to the staff at art schools, they seem to tell you that, you know, you shouldn't worry about the money.
Forget about it.
Why do you keep saying forget about it?
Okay. What? That's just, I mean, that's just ridiculous. And you're setting up a generation for failure. You're literally telling them, yeah, don't worry about the money. It's about the skills that you're going to learn. It's about the value that this education is. And they talk it up so much. Well, I looked into it, and this college, and it's not just them that's been doing this university, and then the one that I was in before this, I don't want to disclose names. They were charging the same price for online classes and on-campus classes. I was paying the same price to go to a class online as I would if I was on campus, which just doesn't make any sense. So I was paying the same in total tuition and everything as if I was an on-campus student, but I was not an on-campus student. I was only online. I believe the price was $2,200 to $3,300 per class, and they would just throw shit out there. This happened about 2 days before I started one of the classes. They go, oh, by the way, you gotta buy this software. It's only about $250. Only $250, and you just told me. I have bills to pay, dude. I just moved out. I don't have a huge income right now. We're young people. We're not prepared to throw these bills out like this, but they know that, and that's what just fucking bothers me. So right now, I'm just talking about the money aspect of things. Is it actually worth it to pay tens of thousands of dollars for whatever degree you're getting? I mean, there's very few degrees, in my opinion, that are like worth what college costs now. I was gonna have to pay at least $50,000 in tuition total, like if I wanted to graduate, and this was for a bachelor's. And now keep in mind, I graduated high school with an associate's degree in liberal arts, so I got a lot of those liberal arts classes out of the way. So now I'm thinking like 50 grand. Okay, well, I mean, we can do this. Like, I'm that type of guy. I'm like, we can do this. If it's really worth it, we're gonna do it. So I paid my tuition full cash up front. You know, I don't take loans. I'm not fucking taking loans. I don't care what people say. Loans are not good. I'm not doing it. I am not going into debt. I absolutely refuse to go into debt. Why would I put myself into deep shit for 20, 30 years for a degree that you're promising me is gonna be worth it? But I'm seeing people graduate saying they didn't quite get what they wanted to out of the degree. And I was talking to people in my class that were saying like, I've been taking classes here 2-3 years, but we're just in crippling debt, and I'm like losing it. So these guys are in a school that's promising them a bright future, but they're in crippling debt. Their lifestyle sucks because they can't afford to really live even amidst of their dream right now because their bank account is in the negatives. Moving on from the money aspect of things, I'm gonna build on top of that and just talk about the value of art school that they promise you, the value of your education. Now, I have a pretty unique experience going into this because my peers were relatively new to everything in the class. So they hadn't really even touched animation. They hadn't really touched CGI programs or software. So in my opinion, they were clueless. And I don't mean to say that in a offensive way to them. I'm just saying that like it's almost like the school took advantage of them. Whereas I had been using Blender software for 2.5 years at that point. So I'm going in there with some pretty solid knowledge about CGI, animation, and then also just art as a whole. In fact, I even took a placement test to see where like I would place, and then I could potentially knock out 2 or 3 classes. I took the placement test and I passed it with like 100%, and they knocked out 2 classes or so. But the funny thing is, for some reason, I had to make up those credits, which in a lot of schools, if you take your placement test, they'll give you those credits, but no, not here. I'm sitting there and I'm like, so let me get this straight. Because I placed well in this degree, you knocked out 2 courses. So that's saying that I know enough to get past that part of my degree, right? But then I'm on the phone with my advisor and she goes, actually, you're gonna have to make up those classes with some other classes. So like, it's not about learning. This is about draining my pockets to get you money. That's all it's about. It's how can we profit? But on top of that, how are the professors? Well, I think this is ultimately what it comes down to. Like, who's teaching you at this art school? Who is staffing this school? Like, I researched this school heavily. They said that they had the best staff and everything, like, you know, one of the best staffs, like people from Pixar and people that have worked on blockbuster films and everything. I was like, okay, so this is legit. Like, I'll get taught by people that have legitimate experience in the field. Okay, but I would spend like 20 hours on a project project in a week, right? Just one project. I was taking 3 classes, so that's one project in a class I'd spend 20 hours on sometimes, turn it in, and this is what I would get as a response. Nice work, B-. She didn't say what I did wrong or what I could have done better. She didn't say what was done right. She didn't say like what part she liked about it. She didn't say what part she didn't like about it. What art principles did I violate? Like how was this graded? Okay, I am paying you $2,500 or whatever it is just to tell me nice work, B-. Dude, I can get better feedback if I posted shit on Twitter.
Bruh!
Yeah, that's saying something. Like, so that's not, no, that, like, to me, that's just like, this is a genuine waste of money. It just seems like they don't care about your time. It's just work harder, do it now.
Oh, what was that? A 20-hour project? Yeah, I'll give you 1 day's notice, buddy. Plenty of time. Go to work!
Keep in mind, I'm running a business at the same time, so I don't have like unlimited time, all right? And I'm assuming that most students don't either. So I ended up dropping out, getting my refund, and just saying, you know, this isn't worth my time, this isn't worth my money, and this isn't worth my future. And here's why. These are things that you have to consider when you're going to an art school, or any college for that matter. Number 1, where is the degree gonna place you? Number 2, how is this gonna impact the next decade or 2 of your future? Number 3, who is teaching you? Is the staff that's teaching you qualified? Number 4, is there any other way? Is there an alternative to college that could get you to where you ultimately want to go? So where is this degree gonna put you? That's a huge question that I don't think people even really consider. I mean, for me, part of the reason I dropped out was just because this school was kind of making it so that I could be tailored to fit into Pixar or whatever Blizzard animation studio or whatever that they wanted me to go to, which is a corporate thing, and no diss on anybody that goes to those places, but that wasn't in my future. I would rather be independent running my own business, and I don't need a degree. And on top of that, the staff, from what I received, I mean, there's a lot of staff at that school, but a few of them just weren't really doing what I think was their due diligence for people that were paying this much money for a class. I don't think they were really putting enough time and effort into this. I mean, it seemed like it was just kind of something that they did on the side, didn't really put a whole bunch of thought into, and then said, oh shit, I almost forgot about that. Yeah, here's this.
Again, plenty of time, buddy. You have till tomorrow. Don't worry about it.
Another thing is just that since they didn't really care about our money, it was like, just throw it out. Just, yeah, you know what? Here's another $1,000. Here's another $1,000. Oh, you know what? Here's $500 for this software. $500 for this. Oh, and by the way, you can get a free laptop from us, but you know, you are paying 50 grand in tuition. And that's probably my biggest issue with college as a whole in the United States. Is it teaches young people right off the fucking bat to be careless with money. It teaches them right away that debt is okay. And in my opinion, debt is not okay. You should do whatever you can to stay out of debt. But college doesn't teach you that. College says, it's a great investment. Go into debt. Do it now. I will tell you this. Personally, I feel so relieved that I don't have anything to worry about tuition and student loan debt. I'm not a slave to anybody financially, and the benefits of that are you don't know until you experience it. But the last thing you want to do is owe somebody money. I am so glad I don't owe any debt. I mean, it makes every financial decision a lot easier. At the end of the day, what it comes down to is I'm in control of my money. That is so freeing, and I think the only way to really experience the height of life is to be financially free. So that's one of my goals in life, is to never go into debt, and I even mean for a mortgage. And a lot of people would say this is ridiculous, it's an extreme approach, but that's the kind of guy I am. Debt's not for me. Moving on. Are there alternatives to this? Can you be self-taught in your career and still do?
It's all right. You got it.
Can you be self-taught in your career and
Maybe next time, buddy.
Are there alternatives to this? Can you be self-taught in your career and still do really well? Ultimately, it came down to this for me. Like, yes, I could be. And part of my evidence was that I already knew a ton coming into this class. I was pretty infuriated when I asked the school, what's the difference between going to this school and learning online from YouTube tutorials or like Skillshare? And they didn't really have a great answer. They would say like, our staff is from Pixar or whatever, so we have people that are qualified. But is it worth that much money? For me, it just wasn't.
So YouTube accounts can be ran by professionals. Skillshare is often taught by professionals. And then the whole point of masterclass is that you're learning from an industry professional. So yeah, I mean, good point, but it makes no fucking sense.
In my honest opinion, these schools, I mean, universities and colleges all around the US and probably all over the world are shitting their pants because the ease of access to information has gone through the roof. In the last 30, 40 years, it's become much less difficult to access information in any field, absolutely any field. I mean, with Google, podcasts, books, and everything, it's so easy to research something on your own. But these schools still swear to you. They say that yes, your degree is worth this much money, and what we're teaching you is not like YouTube or Skillshare. It's way better. And I didn't think so. I really didn't think so. One of the reasons I didn't buy this is that a lot of the people that I was learning from on YouTube, one of them runs his own VFX studio. The other one is this like legendary Blender artist. Didn't go to art school. In fact, they don't think that it's right for a lot of people. And I think it's true that if you're an entrepreneur and that you're an individual thinker, you're somebody that just like thinks outside the box, you go outside the lines, you take risks, you do things that are not the templated way. I don't think art school is for you. I personally don't. And I think it's good to take on a challenge that says, hey, it's gonna be challenging to learn how to do this on my own, quote unquote, on your own, because you're still learning from other people on YouTube. But I'm gonna do it. You know, like I have the mindset, I'm a student, I can do this myself. I don't have to be enrolled in a school to be considered a student. You don't have to. You can be a student. In fact, if you're only a student because you're enrolled in a school, that's a problem. That's a mindset issue that you have to deal with and you have to change. If you want to be super successful in your career as an individual, as an entrepreneur, you have to be a student outside of school as well. You have to be a student overall. It can't just be in school. But if you're going to a corporate business and that's where you're gonna work, sure, you can just be a student at your job. So I could go on about this forever, and honestly, I could probably make a part 2 about art school and just college as a whole. To be honest with you, here's my conclusion. If you're considering going to art school or college at all, I really do encourage you to approach it with a healthy amount of skepticism. Because I know that you wanna go into it saying like, these people are honest, they're not gonna try to rip me off, you know, they want what's best for me. But the truth of it is, the college wants money. And so the staff is doing what it can to bring in money. The way that student loans have ruined the cost of tuition is just out of this world. And I could go into that in another video. But the truth of it is, you're on your own. Even when you go into this school, I mean, you have to be looking out for your future. Don't let other people be the one looking out for your future. Make sure that you are the #1 person looking out for your future. And you have to understand your situation better than anybody else and make decisions based off of that situation. For me personally, art school was not the best decision. And that's why I shamelessly pulled out and went way harder on other things. I now have way more time to spend learning CGI on my own. I have way more time to think about progressing my business and thinking about how I'm gonna use these skills that I have to sell, and I'm already making money off of it. So why would I pay somebody enormous amounts of money to teach me a skill that I could learn while getting paid? I mean, if you want to really learn something, jump into that field and start getting paid to do it. It's true. The stakes are never the same. When somebody says, I want it done like this, and you go, shit, I don't know if I can do it. You're the type of personality that I am. You're sitting there like, I gotta figure this out right now. Like, I am not gonna deliver something that looks bad. I gotta do this right. Or I'm gonna have an unsatisfied customer. So that's something that pushes you to learn anyways. So I learn every day, and I wasn't even learning about CGI yet. It was gonna be another 1.5 years before I even got into those classes. You might not even need a degree in the first place. None of my clients have ever asked anything about my education at all. A few things I wanna mention before we wrap this up. One, this is not to diss on anybody that decides that art school or college is the best for them. Two, I'm not discouraging you from going into school.
You didn't say a single good thing about school. So, what do you mean?
I have a degree myself. I graduated high school with an AA degree, so I do have a college degree technically.
No way. Absolutely. Look at this. I'm telling you, he's full of shit.
So I'm not discouraging you from getting an education. All I'm saying is you got to take these into account. And finally, just decide what's best for you. This is all about your future. Literally, don't let anybody, nobody except for you, make these decisions. Okay, don't let your parents, don't let your girlfriend, don't let your wife, don't let your dog, Don't let your fucking grandpa, don't let your friends, don't let your grandma, don't let your student advisor, don't let your professors, don't let any people decide what's best for your future. It's gonna take bold moves. And for me, that bold move was saying, I don't need school. I'm doing this on my own. But for you, that bold move might be, I'm gonna have to go to school and I'm gonna have to pay a large amount of money. I would encourage you to do this debt-free, but to learn and get where I ultimately wanna be. So that's my experience in art school and university as a whole. I hope you guys can learn from this experience, and I really just wanted to get this out there because I feel like we always hear from people that have graduated and did so well, but we never hear from the perspective of somebody that was like, nah, this didn't really work for me, and here's why. So I hope these can help you decide whether you want to go to art school or not. Little note here, if you want to support me as an artist, I have a website, jhamentertainment.com/products. You can pick up a few things that I have created, like designer mugs, designer stickers, and I also have a bunch of my CGI artwork printed on canvases and photos. I think it would look pretty cool in a lot of people's walls, so if you want to check that out, head on over to jhamentertainment.com/products. You can follow me on social media. I'm on TikTok and Instagram. Instagram is the best way to get in contact with me. So if you want to get in contact with me, shoot me a DM. And as always, I'm your boy, Jordan Needham. This has been Jham Entertainment, and I will catch you next time.